For once, I won't say Metallica in the video. Блять. Hi friends, it's Andriy Vasilenko and today we are breaking down Holy Wars, taking things that you might have not known, noticed or cared about in the song. Holy Wars needs no introduction. Every self-respecting metalhead should know the tune. And it goes hand to hand in popularity with another death song, Symphony of Destruction. But Holy Wars is the standard of thrash metal, and compared to Symphony, Holy Wars better showcases Megadeth's essence, things that made the band's music stand out before 1992.
And I would even say that Holy Wars was the last iconic thrash metal masterpiece. They have written cool thrash stuff in the 2000s, but the continuity of the 80s, the chain of iconic thrash albums that paved the way for the genre, it ended on Rust in Peace. So we can count Holy Wars as the closing chapter of the glorious thrashy 80s.
So what makes Holy Wars so great? The structure of Holy Wars is rather unconventional, like most Megadeth songs prior to Countdown. Firstly, it's basically two songs stitched together, Holy Wars and The Punishment Due, respectively. It has essentially one long verse, and the only time Dave sings Holy Wars, like for 2 seconds, that kind of chorus.
And yeah, we're not going to discuss the lyrics and the subjects. In short, if you still wonder what's The Punishment Due about, it's about the Punisher and not about the Middle East. Dave told that himself several times, and the first part, yeah, you know the story. Well, it started a train of consequences which led to the song. So should we complain about that since we now have such a masterpiece?
So that part.
Dave Mustaine equals Megadeth, which is also equals chromatics. And thus, Holy Wars intro can be considered the ultimate Megadeth riff, because it runs through all the 12 notes, which is quite rare in music, and thus the most iconic songs by both Megadeth and Metallica, Holy Wars and Master of Puppets respectively. Both start with the ultimate chromatic intros. Is that a coincidence? You know how I love when a song has strong main riff, its backbone theme, its face, its locomotive, its driving force, In Holy Wars the main riff does not loop itself, it repeats several times but it changes as it goes. So it's like a riff pretending to be a solo, something like that. But it settles on its basic variation once the fake triplet lead part starts. Then it returns in the end of the song, but sped up to 180. By the way, you can find the riff's shadow in a few Megadeth songs, such as Sleepwalker. And then goes my favorite part of the song. I believe that riding a unicycle while playing some Slayer is easier than playing and singing Holy Wars verse together. How Dave once he was asked about that, but his answer was like, who is night? Mustaine says that he's just doing this, and this somehow works out, with no secrets or tricks and stuff.
These are all weird chords. People wouldn't even notice that though.
Dave switches from thirds to power chords, sometimes major thirds. Even though it's major thirds, they don't sound happy. With distortion in metal, they sound more evil.
Those are all really evil sounding chords. And I didn't do it to try and be like, oh, I'm so evil, you know. It was just something that worked.
But at the end of the lick, he switches from the triads to power chords to complete the phrasing.
And at the very end, I go from those weird chords to a power chord because it just has finality to it.
And yeah, we should say a word about bass. Throughout the whole song, Dave Ellefson repeats the main riffs of Dave. And this is a perfect example of their chemistry, how they can lock up their parts. He does not always double the riffs, he goes with his own variations, but in the verse, he basically repeats it note for note, including those damned triads. thus making it one of the most challenging Megadeth bass lines. If I was to make top 10 greatest to bestest Megadeth riffs, which I'm not, this riff from the verse would represent Holy Wars and not the main one. And again, the song does not have the chorus, the hook. The whole track is the hook, as it's supposed to be in a good song. And this sub song is much slower than the rest of the composition, about 60 ppm, which is quite rare in Megadeth. And so in the context of the track, it almost feels like a breakdown. In the riff, Dave uses one of his signature techniques, open E and B in between power chords, which he uses in a couple more songs, such as Head Crusher. Then we return to the fast part, to the Holy Wars part, with a bit sped up tempo. And what makes this riff great is that it's just 3 notes. The way they are tossed, it gets a phrasing, and so it sounds great. And note how bass is developing. It goes higher and higher up the scale upon the guitars playing just 0, 2 and 3, thus creating some movement. If you are a beginner guitarist, you might have been told that you can play natural harmonics only on the frets 5, 7 and 12, yeah? But if you ever explored the guitar sound, you know that the harmonics, the natural ones, are hidden all over the fretboard, on each fret. And on some frets of the guitar, you can get not 1, not 2, but 3 harmonics. And that's what Dave utilizes on Holy Wars. He plays the natural harmonic on the 3rd fret, and on live performances he likes to do to get different overtones, different harmonics each time he repeats them.
And then I do my solo, which I can't show you.
And yeah, even though I'm a riff guy, I cannot not say a couple of words about the solos. It has ones by both Mustaine and Marty Friedman, and both have fun stories attached to them. Dave recorded his solo in 1 take, and Marty had problems with nerves in his hand, and so he was advised by his doctors, but he did not tell the band about that he had to play as little takes as possible, desirably everything with 1 take. And initially, the Holy War solo by Marty was also from 1 take. Everyone was fine, that sounded great, but Marty was obsessed, like, no, I cannot sleep with that. And so he called Mustaine, the producer, everyone. Finally they give in and allowed him to re-record it, and that's what you hear now. Everyone is pleased, including Marty. And yeah, I got it from the recent book, Rest in Peace, by Mustaine and Company, about the album, how they recorded it, how they struggled through it. That's an amazing read for you Megadeth fans and metal fans in general. So yeah, if you wanna your copy, link in description.
Well, those were my nuances I wanted to share with you, my favorite parts. What are yours? Thanks for watching, it's Andriy Vasilenko, being metal.